Welcome to The Leaders Who Care, a podcast powered by Dynamis Group. We are here to give the stage and support to those committed to create a positive and lasting impact, way beyond the profits and margins, the leaders of the world who care for others and serve a bigger purpose. Join us on the journey of creating a better, more caring world. And now to your host, Marian Temelkov.
Today we have the privilege to have a very interesting guest currently joining us from one of my favorite countries. Luis Villa Del Campo is joining us from Spain, business strategist and growth expert with a human-centric cultural passion and touch. Luis, thank you for joining us, and how are you today?
I'm good, thank you. A rainy day in Madrid, and it's a nice day. Anyway, I'm from the north of Spain, so I like rain. So happy to be here with you.
Well, in the UK also we have we like more the southern part of Spain, more sunny part. But thank you for making the time today, Luis. It's great to have you. For the audience who have never met with you and don't know you, why don't you share us a brief introduction? You know, who is Luis and what are you doing today? You know, if you just kind of share your story in a few words, that would be great.
Well, let's see, because it's a long story since I have a lot of experience, no? And well, I have always been in the business of caring because I studied law, but I started working designing websites, designing applications and services for many years in the 90s. And what I get is a lot of experience in talking with people, in making change, in transforming organizations, transforming cultures. I had a lot of conversations with people, with users, with customers, with executives. So I was in the middle of change, no? In the dot-com moment at the beginning, making the first businesses online, then the 2.0 web, which is what was social media, about collaboration, things like that, then this innovation and mobile part, and now with the AI and all this cultural transformation, no? Which is when the technology doesn't make it because it's not the solution for many of the problems, because you are not taking into account how the people feel about change, no? You're thinking that putting a methodology, a framework, or a technology, you can make change. It's not real, no? Change, you need 60-70% of the change initiatives doesn't make it, no? So the point is that in the case of design, you're working all the time with real people, no? And having a lot of conversations that are not about numbers. Mm-hmm. So you talk about emotions, you talk about problems, fears, whatever, no? And when you start talking and working this way, you are joining a lot of stakeholders, no? Different people, as I said, executives, customers, employees, whatever. So what I did is in the end is helping to build companies, transform organizations by the power of design and conversations. So I was in many companies that were pioneering in Spain, and then I joined one company called Fjord. It was a design company, and it was acquired by Accenture, no? So in Accenture, what I was doing is helping to integrate and transform Accenture so it could be more user-oriented, no, more experience-oriented, no, helping to build Accenture Digital and Accenture Interactive, helping to train a lot of executives to do in design and doing design thinking and methodologies that are more collaborative, not only just putting a PowerPoint on a screen and this is your problem and this is our solution, no. So it was a lot about. Tim.
You raised a very interesting topic, design thinking, which we'll come back to it. But please, continue, because there are some very interesting concepts as you being at the forefront and cutting innovation in some of those changes and transformation.
Exactly. So the point in the end was about this. It was about how do you create a vision? How do you that is centered in people? No, because it's what I believe. If there is no people-centric vision, don't call me. No. That's the point, no? And when I arrived, many companies still are talking about being customer-centric, but they are not yet. They're thinking in terms of products, in processes, and the way a designer thinks is about, it's not that people work for the processes in the case of employees, it's that the process has to work for people, no? Technology has to work for people, not just to swallow people, no, into the complexity and things like that. So my point in the end was transforming all this complexity into something that was usable. No, and this design thinking is key for this, I think, because it's a way of, it's not just unidirectional communication. It's about creating a space where people from different backgrounds, generations, and responsibilities can have a conversation around one main topic, which is people, customers, employees, whatever. No? So this was more or less my experience.
Wonderful. Well, great. You must have seen a lot of different cases and leaders and characters, because if you've been working in, advising companies, I can imagine how much project work you had to carry.
Exactly. Yeah, a lot of different people, and also different me's, no? Different myself, I have been changing, no? In fact, years ago, I saw, this week ago, I saw a documentary in the Catalan television about internet in the 20 years ago. And there was me, 20 years younger, no? And I was seeing myself doing a presentation to clients, no? We worked with a printed version of a document like this, and we're taking notes. We printed the documents, we started to talk, and it was a conversation, but there was nothing on the screen, there was no post-its, nothing. And one thing that when I look at me, I saw myself with hair, younger, the clothes there at that time. I said to this Luis, you not have a clue what is coming for you now. All the plans that you have in your brain now, your mind, no one is going to work. You're going to move to Madrid. I was in Barcelona. You're going to have a divorce. You're going to have children. You want to move. You want to have another children. So in the end, what I said is, no plan will work. Nothing that you have on your mind will work, but everything will go fine. No. So the point is, how can you be more adaptive? Because the different waves of change have different technologies, different words, but in the end, it's about people, no? And I see a lot of patterns that repeat during the history, no? And a lot of, you think about like a theater play, you see the same roles played by different actors in different time, no? This is my personal theater, psychological, but at the same time, there is people that play similar roles in different moments, no?
Luis, it's very interesting. You raised, obviously, on one end, the cases of businesses. What is the most difficult case you had to deal throughout your business career?
Well, I think when we got acquired by Accenture, it was a drama for many designers, because consulting is the opposite normally of design. Now, consulting is about process, it's about outcomes, no? It's about also results, no? And consulting is about, I think it's more abstract, no? Because you have to build things, but at the beginning, the conversations are more about numbers, more about processes, things like that, no? And we come from a philosophy which is about caring, because if you talk about empathy, you care about your work, you care about the process, you care about the quality, you have a feeling of community, no? That sharing with people. In design, there is a lot of people sharing things in communities, no? And even with competitors. No? So having this cultural clash and creating a hybrid culture that is results-oriented on one side, that is technology-friendly, and on another side that is empathetic, and it's also human-centric, for me was the most challenging work. No? Creating I would say like a shared cause, no? Something that we all share, and that for me, no doubt, was the main challenge, and the one that I'm most proud of. No, I've been able to accomplish this.
And just coming back to the design thinking, clearly was one of the reasons why Fjord got acquired by Accenture, because of what you mentioned, of the values you were bringing. And if you share just in a kind of a summary version, what is design thinking for people that have never done or businesses, they may be considering this, and what are the kind of benefits of going through a design thinking process?
Yeah, well, design thinking in the end, let's forget about the words, okay? It's a tool, and we used to do a lot of design thinking without knowing, because it didn't have name, like Agile, no? When the web started, many people, we work with our fellow programmers together, and we were doing things all the time together. It was Agile, but we didn't have a name for that, no? So the point is that when the web comes and you start having a shared vision of the customer, you need to collaborate across different parts of the company, because I always say that if there is no product, there is no users. If there is no users, there is no business, So the point is that how can we make sure that we really understand the customer pain points or the people pain points? Could be an employee, could be a citizen, whatever, people, putting people in the center. Forget about our problems in our departments, about budgets, about goals, and thinking, focus for one day in the customer problems. And for
Luis,
sorry
to interrupt you, but your microphone is touching your shirt, and it makes this funny noise. I think, that's
okay.
That is a look.
Okay,
yeah, sorry.
Like
go ahead.
So that's more or less the thing. How you can collaborate with the rest of the organization, so you create a shared vision. And as I said before, it's about bringing people from different areas of the company with different backgrounds. Even we had a situation, very interesting situation, like years ago with the Madrid government. We brought, for the employment office, we brought people without any job. So we put the public servants as the people without unemployed people to work together and design solutions. So in the end, it's about how do you forget about the numbers? How do you forget about the stock, the market, how your company is performing? For once in a moment, you can focus on the real business, which is people, which is customers, employees, and different people. So it would be something like that.
And what are the benefits of going through design thinking? Is that just allows for really the participants to kind of detach themselves from the day-to-day work and just focus on what really is important, how to move forward? What are those? What are the kind of benefits from that?
I think in anything, design thinking is a tool, and it depends. I always said that if you are able to use Microsoft Word, you are not a writer. You have to have a mindset for doing this. And it's about, you start for the customer. So sometimes when you have consultants doing design thinking, it doesn't work because they still bring their mindset to the tool. So they are using the tool in a traditional way. Just it's more collaborative, obviously, but you are not focusing on doing empathetic work with the customer. So in the end, you need a lot of research, and research sometimes is not about data or Excels or segmentation. It's about going and see the people in their habitat and doing the research, doing interviews, observing a lot, and trying to understand what problems do they have, the people, how do they tackle them, what solutions do they find, and build on top of that opportunities that sometimes are non-verbalized. When you work in design thinking from a more rational perspective, sometimes it's about the numbers and size of the market and just creating products, but you don't have a real vision of the problem of the customer. So that's more or less the point. The tool can be used by different people with different results. But it's about collaboration in the end.
So if we're a business that is interested in going through, if anyone just say, you know what, we want to get my team to go through design thinking, what would be your advice to them? Well, they've never done it. Should they hire a consultant? What process should they follow?
Normally they should hire someone. I don't know if it's in the company. I think it's better if they are external, because if they're internal, they get sucked into the dynamics of the company. So at the beginning, I think the first change should be someone external that doesn't have many stakes in the organization. It's something that is more neutral, something that can tell the truth. I always call that there's the role in the Middle Age, which is the buffon, the buffon, the joker, the trickster. And sometimes it should be a little bit like a provocator. And the buffon had an interesting role, which is he was the only one that could tell the truth to the king without getting his head cut. So that's the point. When you put an internal team at the beginning, you have to make sure that they are empowered to lead that change, to have difficult conversations, and also to make the people see themselves, this organization, the executives, whatever, see themselves in a mirror. So you need people that are a little bit like catalysts, coaches, storytellers, people that can create this sense of change, so they can bring stories from outside. No, so the company is not focusing on protecting itself. No, and I see a lot of people that get hired and they had a very bad time. No, because of the culture, not getting sucked into dynamics. So that will be the beginning. Find the right people with design, sociology, psychology background, creative background, that are good storytellers, that understand perfectly the dynamics in an organization, and then they can create and use tools to start this process of change, to create this vision.
And Luis, what are you doing these days? What is your really passion and focus? How do you? Because I know you exited the corporate world as such, but you've continued to do something you're really passionate about, which is something that comes deep down. And what is your role today, and what inspired you to do that?
What I'm doing now is I'm going back to my roots. No, I left the corporate world. It was a very interesting journey, but I think now the experience that I acquired can be useful to build more change. No, and in my career, I was normally went to building something to get acquired by a big company, and then going back to the small, and then to the big, to the small, to the big. It was a little bit like this, no. Mm-hmm. And now I think I feel ready to, and I'm doing right now. I'm acting as advisor of some companies, of some executives. I'm leading some projects, and also I'm giving classes. I'm mentoring people, creative people, for instance. There is an initiative for creative people around Europe. It's called the Creative Incubator, that I'm doing with my friend Jamshid Alamuti, and we're working with creative people in trying to see what is the future of creativity and the agency world, no? Because the agencies, I don't know if you are aware of this, they are having a bad time, no? There's a lot of transformation in marketing and customers, and many of them, they are not keeping up with change. So now many of the people in the industry are trying to explore what's next, no? They are not happy. They don't feel they are doing something that is meaningful or relevant. So it's like healing, no? These people, and helping them to see that there is another way of working. There are other opportunities, no? So it's what I'm doing: taking care of people, advising people in change processes, and also building new things that will be public maybe in some days.
Really great to hear. And what inspired you to do that, Luis? Well, what's that human-centric culture that really it feels like it's so needed, especially in this current time?
That's, in my case, is because it's how I am. No, I can't fake it. I can't fake it. Another thing. No, I'm always usually been. I would say that I'm a bad professional, because work for me is personal. No, so sometimes when people say, "Luis, why are you so angry with this? It's just a job." I say, "No, it's my work. It's what I believe in. I'm passionate about my work." So I think what I'm doing now is following my passion, as I said before with this video of myself 20 years ago, following the plan or not having a plan, no, and hoping that everything is going to be fine, no. And as I said, I'm having very interesting opportunities, and I'm evaluating also what will be next, no. But at the moment, I'm adapting, enjoying a lot, because when you are out of an office and you have this time of being independent to have interesting conversations, the conversations are getting even more authentic, no? I have a lot of advice. I have a lot of interesting offers and opportunities. People in companies, in former clients, are opening to me the reality of their working projects and their numbers. So it's just like a privilege to be here, and I'm enjoying it. So let's see.
And what does care, what is the role of care in really that kind of culture, or what you're doing, and does it impact productivity?
Well, I think I have one example of one colleague. He was a basketball player and then a coach, and he joined the national Spanish basketball team. No, and the national basketball Spanish team with different coaches was the champion of many, the world champion, Olympics, European Games, and this guy moved to Moscow, to Russia, he was the assistant coach also in the Kinky of Moscow. And then the Kinky was the winning the league and winning the European Championship. And this guy started with the numbers. No? This guy made the stats of the. He started watching, observing being the assistant coach to the main coach, to the principal coach, and taking the numbers, so to see what's happening, what's the stats of each player. No, but suddenly he realized that the numbers come from the people interactions. So if the team doesn't look to each other, they said, if the Gasol brothers don't look to each other in the courtyard, in the team doesn't get along well when they are outside in the hotel, in traveling, whatever, the numbers doesn't come. So you can change the numbers because the numbers come from the interactions of the people. So you have to be able to understand what is the role of each. Technically, it's like the opposite of Moneyball. No, Moneyball was about I buy the numbers here. I buy the numbers, but I buy also the relationships. No, so he designed interactions and relationships, and then he was one of the common factors in all this successful trajectory of the Spanish national team. And he's not known at all. No, he's Genaro Diaz is the name, and he's not known at all. So that's for me is the point. No, it's if you take care of the relationship, if you take care of the people, normally the numbers come out. So that's my experience. No. My experience.
And what is your best advice? I mean, especially in businesses that already have certain, can they heal if the relationships are seriously affected? You know, what is the kind of, is there hope for businesses that perhaps, you know, that there's not a great connection? Excuse me.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think one of the problems are I think there is a separation between generations in companies. And now I think we have a generation that is leading, that now you have all this purpose talk, no, and sustainability and whatever, but the same people that 1 month ago were talking about disruption and competition and whatever. So the incentives and the structures are the same. So the change that we are seeing in many organizations is totally cosmetic. No, it's words, it's marketing. No, we saw it during the pandemics. Most of the companies were saying, "Hey, we're in this together," and you have people having a salary that is totally ridiculous. No, and these people pushing these messages having a huge salary. No, so you have the fair labor conditions. So the people in the forefront can believe in the messages. Not the more authenticity, and also breaking this authority layer, no, because it's one thing that I'm seeing in many organizations, no. We're talking about networks, about adapting, but in the end, I think most of the C-leveling organizations is totally isolated from reality. All the information that they receive are from similar colleagues, from consultants that they have an interest in the messages that they are providing to this C-level, and this is what I see, no, the lack of I think they have to get out, to see the real clients, to see the real world, and to also to talk with the people in a more frequent way. No, there is a technique which is management by walking. Right, I used to do that a lot. Walking.
That's interesting.
Yeah, having conversations and seeing what's happening and feeling the atmosphere in the organization. No, this is what I miss in many companies.
What a great advice. Well, thank you for sharing that. We've got some questions here that we wanted to ask you in the meantime. One of them is from Andrea Mazgaleva. Hi, Marian, Luis. What is a piece of advice you would give 20 years old who wants to create something of their own and wants to focus on leadership that's exactly human-centered and technology work and help a team rather than vice versa?
I think it's a good moment. The point is how to start on your own. No, I think at the beginning it's difficult unless you have clients and opportunities to start on your own. What I would say is join. I think this can sound a little bit contradictory, but I think consulting is a great school to understand all the human aspects of organizations and clients. No, because they have solid methodologies. They are oriented to processes that in the end, any experience has to be translated into processes. So it makes results, so it gets scalable. But I think that mixing this consulting mindset and the creative mindset is the way to go. So I would recommend to join a company that is not only human-centric, but they need human-centric, no, to transform the technologies and the processes into human experiences, no. And it's going to be tough, but it's worthy, I think.
Absolutely, I think there is of course a core entrepreneurship or entrepreneurship. So you could start out on your own, but you can also an impact on organization as well. So both routes are open. And but one thing that may be helpful is whatever you decide to do, always think of what value do I add? How do I serve this client? What have I contributed to them today? How did I make them feel, in that interaction? Because there's both value, but also how, if there's no connection, if there's no really kind of the human element we're talking about, that care of being interested in their own self and personality and what they're going through, the impact probably will be not as significant. And it's important to, as you said, to look at that human element, because we're all human beings and we all want to make sure to be felt we're understood, and we have someone that actually sincerely means what. If you ask somebody, how are you, but you don't have to listen to it, then don't ask the question. If you ask someone, how are you, make sure you have the time and willingness and patience to hear them.
Exactly. No, I think one of the interesting things about design is we don't look at the numbers, we don't look competitive, or we don't look sometimes like a threat. No, in the corporate world there are some tensions, no, some political tensions, some competitiveness, obviously on the top. No, so the people, when you start talking about empathy, about emotions, about stories of clients or employees, suddenly they start to connect with the human side. No, oh, wow, this is an old woman that has had the energy cut. It's not a segment, no. And for instance, we did a lot of work with mindset of executives, no. And then they started to profile themselves, no, and so I'm one of this, I'm one of that, and now I understand why I'm having this conflict with my team, or when I make work is when something is broken. I'm very good at that. So we're also somehow psychologists. But the point is that you first have to make your room for entering this space. Because, for instance, one of the biggest projects that I was in a bank in the systems area. And the team, we have to create, to be accepted by the engineers. Because at the beginning, we were like a strange people that were going to criticize them or rebuild their work. No? So there is a lot of political work, a lot of seduction, I would say. And also winning allies and friends. So that's key. And for that, you have to be visible. You have to be very open to talk to anyone, and being able to read something that is not in the PowerPoints or the Excel, no, something that is in the human relationships, no. So you can create a system, no, of care and collaboration, no.
We have another question here, and it says, where does technical expertise come into play for a leader that cares and enables the team? What inspires the team the most to do the most to their best?
I think, in my view, a leader that is selfless and is oriented to make the team shine. I think it's just when people feel that the leader is there for them and is removing obstacles and helping them to shine and do their best job. Sometimes it's difficult, no? Because when you're in a leadership position, you feel very tempted to get all the limelight, no? And that's one of the points, no? Sometimes you have these ego boost moments, or you have the contrary, which is also negative, which is the imposter syndrome, no? Which is you feel insecure, so you start to communicate that. But when you're in the sweet spot, which is I'm really leading this, what you do is mostly make the people shine, make the people connect, create stories, giving them space to try, experiment, and learn and grow, and also recognizing. And also another thing I think is interesting is rituals. Rituals doesn't matter if it's a technology project or whatever. Rituals, I mean, when you have a long project, you have to make some celebrations, some milestones, because sometimes it gets too boring, it gets too ugly, no? And sometimes you have to celebrate that, hey, we are together, we're accomplishing this, we're special, no? And that's part of the leader, not making this sense of feeling in a safe environment, a safe team, no? And the technology, in the end, technology the problem that has been with technology, as we spoke before, is that many companies are selling technology as a solution. And technology is not the solution, because sometimes you can implement a huge, big project, and then the project fails because it didn't take into account the real people needs. You don't even ask your employees, for instance. You're putting a CRM, but you don't even ask if this CRM is going to solve their problems, how they work, what data they need. They're just taking a top-down decision. So in the end, as I said, it's about empathy, it's about understanding, and then putting the technology, the processes, and the tools. But until you don't understand how people feel about change, in the end, feelings that look like a soft thing, they are the hardest things to manage. That's the point for me.
What a great question. Thank you, Mehmet, for asking this. We have another one here from Stoyan Yankov. He's saying, Luis, can you share some examples of your experience of leaders in organizations that have done it right? Building a productive human-centric culture, what did they do to achieve it? What are the top 3 advices?
I would say one of the examples is the Cocktail, my former company. When it was founded, we were 8. We were like we called ourselves .com refugees, because we were people. We have the moment of glory, the .com times, and then we have the .com was a bubble, and we have a crisis. We went to consulting, to big projects, and this guy who was my boss, Alberto Knapp is called, he built a small company, and he started to bring misfits, people that we weren't stars, we were just passionate, we loved our job, and suddenly we start to see that most of the clients wanted to work with us. We have something in the eyes. They say, I don't understand what you do, but you are telling your story with such a passion that I want to find a project to start working with you, to give you an opportunity. We started to do a lot of things. We started to attract a lot of people, and the company started to grow. And since we were refugees, as I said, we knew the methodologies of hard consulting. We knew what happens in a complex organization. So we could play the both parts of the emotional part and the rational part. We could acknowledge the complexity of change. We were not naive, but at the same time, say, okay, everything's complex, but let's forget about it. Let's start doing what we could do. And another curious thing is that with that company, 80% of the clients were women.
Wow.
Yeah.
Maybe that's empathy, because women naturally are much more empathetic in that.
Yeah, many of them, what they told us is that they were very tired of consulting companies and technology companies, because they had a very macho approach. And you don't know about technology. You don't know about the numbers. I want to talk with your boss. And she said, I'm the boss here. So it was, I think it was like 10 years ago, and the world is changing a lot, fortunately. But we were the ones that talk in a direct way, and we talk the truth. We were the bouffons, as we said, telling the truth to the king. Because the king was tired of having all these people of the court telling things that he's supposed to, that he would like to hear, So authenticity and respect, obviously, is not about respecting, but also empathy with the executives and the people. I think is absolutely necessary. I know you want to do the right thing, and I know you have to do it in a way that you don't like, but okay, we're in this, let's do it. So it's a little bit balancing thing. It's not.
This is so interesting, Luis, and you're actually right. If you telling the truth is one of the greatest form of care. And I remember still this advice, and someone said you should have 5 people in your life, and one of those 5 should be someone that always tells you the truth, no matter how painful it is to hear it.
Exactly.
Of course, you should have someone who inspires you, who gives you that kind of really energy, motivation in difficult moments. Someone that will follow you no matter what.
Exactly.
And in that someone that will have your back.
Exactly.
And of course, and last but not least is your intimate relationship. You got to have that really connection with your closest.
Exactly.
And what was research was found in the US that majority of people don't even have one person of those 5. Never mind all of those 5. So what you're just talking about, the truth is resonates so well, because of course you don't have to be brutal. You can say it in a caring way, but you got to be honest and say what doesn't work. And you guys have done so well, and the company got acquired by Accenture. What happened after the acquisition? That's when I guess the corporate came along.
Exactly. We kept on telling the truth. I mean, obviously, in fact, many designers in acquisition are put in front of the clients because the consulting world, which is more political and traditional, are not able to tell the truth. So they put a buffoon, as I said, okay, tell the truth to the king, and they get behind watching what happens with the. And I was saying like a joke. If something goes wrong, you say that I'm a crazy guy that just started and entered in the room and started to say things, but you don't know me. So the point is that it was very celebrated. And also I had another strategy. It was understanding, I call it the selective ignorance. No, strategic ignorance, sorry, which is, I don't want to know about your industry. I know about the industry, I have experiences, but I'm not an expert. And that's my superpower with you, because you are surrounded by experts, no? And you know what they're going to tell you. But I want to tell you the different story, no? Another perspective, a more creative perspective. Sometimes it works, with a lot of executives are very grateful for these perspectives. But sometimes there are people that are more rational. So you have to also be able to understand the different archetypes of people, no? What is the mindset, no? For instance, I have some problems sometimes connecting with some type of engineers, no? Because they say that I'm too metaphorical, for instance, no? But there are other engineers that they say, how can you talk about my job with pictures of clouds and pictures of people moving and with stories? And I said, sorry, you are seeing your job in my presentation, in my story, but because I wouldn't understand, if I have 1 year talking with you, I wouldn't understand your job. So you see that when you create a story, sometimes it resonates in some people, no? And the last thing, for me, it's interesting to understand in these environments, to understand and difference who is your friend and who's your ally. No, it's quite different, because your friend is somebody that you share something, but it's unconditional, always will be with you. But an ally is totally provisional. So sometimes you can have, in this change process, you can have a lot of, you can make friends, but at the beginning, most of the people will be allies. And also you will have adversaries, which are people that are totally occasional, no? They have against you, but it's nothing personal. And enemies, no? People that want to destroy. So you have to differentiate who are you with, who are you against, and also the quality of the relationship, no? So you can start doing this change. And one thing that I see is that a lot of people believe in change. They think it's necessary, but fortunately it goes against their interests, no? So that's the point, and that's the conflict of the humans, no, in organization, no? If I'm a good person, I believe I have to do this, why I'm doing this totally different thing, no? So that's the challenge, no?
No, thank you for sharing this example, and there's so many useful insights that you shared that really can resonate so well, and can be implemented immediately, really. But by the looks of it, the number one is tell the truth.
Yeah.
If you had to summarize the top three, what are the other two for you?
I think for me it's about pride, feeling proud of what you do. If you go to home and you can
passion,
exactly.
pride, like if you really love what you're doing, the passion will come.
And also some of duty. Sometimes you have to do things that are not the things that you most like, no?
That's always part of
exactly, and that's the main point, no? How do you manage the beautiful and the nice parts of the job with the bad parts, with the sacrifice, with the duty, with all the things that are not. It's like being a parent, no? You have to change diapers, but at the same time you enjoy seeing your children growing up, no? So it's more or less the same. It's trying to keep a trajectory, no, and a purpose in the end, no? No matter the good and the bad, in the end everything is going to be this vision, no?
What a great way, what a great metaphor, because a lot of people say, I only want the good part. But sometimes the critical, those, as you mentioned, changing the diapers are so critical for the well-being. And they were often the most boring and difficult, most probably important sometimes of really making that happen. So if you see it that way, it makes a profound difference. Luis, no, it's been such a kind of productive and sharing those insights from your story in your life. Well, what is your vision for brighter future in the short or long term? How do you see the world in the coming years?
I think it's challenging, no, because there is a lot of tensions and polarized interests, no, people trying to keep the situation, people trying to make their space, no? In generations, in cultures, things like that, no. But talking about the future, I would go to the past, no. And I always quote one guy. It was called Avedis Donavedian. He was an Armenian poet, and also he was engineer or physician, no. He designed in the United States the systems of quality of healthcare. No, many of them. You have to look for Avedis Donavedian. The guy has published a lot of models, of frameworks about quality. And the point is, when he was old and retiring, the disciples come to him and say, Avedis, what is the secret of quality? And Avedis Donavedian said, in the end, the secret of quality is love. No? Because if you love your patient, if you love your work, and if you love God, in the end, all the things will take care of itself. No? So that's the point. How can we find people that are able to embed in all these big data things, in all these Salesforce, in all these clouds? How can we embed care and affection? No, how can we build empathy? No, so we don't have these abstract machines, no, managing and manipulating the emotions of people just to get a reward, a result. No, so I'm seeing a lot of people doing this. Fortunately, many of them are people from engineers, but also we need more humanities, not only technology. And this is what I'm seeing: a lot of creative people really working hard on this change. No.
What a great! I'm personally very really positive and optimistic. All this transition and change that is happening is, of course, can be very painful, and the losses we're occurring. But I know that when there's a big loss, there's also a big the world and the universe and God balance itself will give a lot of goodness to make sure it counterbalance. Yeah. And I think we got to make sure that if any foundation is not solid, we got to knock it down and rebuild it with something that is rock solid, that makes a difference, that actually. And to what you're saying, I love what you just said. Love and care and compassion and affection. It's a great start to build something new.
And being able to work in something that you love, for me, is the first way of expressing this love, no? Because in the end, it feels that you are not only using the work as a mean, but as an end in itself, no? And there is people there. There are people in this, no? So this is for me the key, no?
Luis, thank you so much for really sharing all these insights. For those who may want to get in touch with you, and what's the best way to find you?
And LinkedIn, it's easy. It's easy.
Okay, great. Well, keep doing what you're doing. Spread positivity and more human-centric culture with love and affection. And sincerely, thank you for taking the time today, Luis, and wish you all the best in your endeavor.
Thank you, Marian. Thank you, Marian, for your time, the opportunity.
Pleasure. It was a pleasure.
My pleasure.